Good morning, MVP. My name is Webb Lyons, and it's a real privilege to be able to share the MVP moment this morning. My wife Sarah and I both grew up in families where church and faith were very central to our formation. But we also came from different traditions. Her Catholic, me Methodist. Throughout our relationship, we figured out ways to make it work, which, like most things, generally consisted of her taking it with much more seriousness and diligence than me, as she would typically go to Mass every Sunday with me from time to time accompanying her, but as a general matter, not making church as much of a priority. But several years ago, when we had kids, we had a sense that we wanted that to change, that we wanted more than each of us doing our own thing. We wanted a church home. And so that was our mindset when we first walked into MVP 2.5 years ago. We sort of showed up on a whim, with no real connection to MVP. In fact, I think I was Googling churches an hour or so before we showed up. But as I've heard a lot of people say in these MVP moments over the years, that first Sunday was a very memorable service. Beautiful music, a thoughtful sermon, and a welcoming spirit that was unmatched. After the service, we were greeted by so many friendly faces, including by our friends, Emily and Brady Dennis, who we actually didn't know went to church here, and they introduced us to Pastor Donna. From that very first Sunday, it was clear that MVP is a special place. And with every passing week, that has become all the more clear. This is a place where our kids will always feel welcomed and loved and learn not just about their own belovedness, but also about the belovedness of every single other person. It is a place that takes equally seriously its mission of faith and of justice, that will push us to grow in our commitments to God and to good work. And this is a place that is filled with extraordinary leaders. And this feels especially true over the past 20 months. What Donna and Lee and Tim and David and Allison and Yoshi and all of our remarkable lay leaders have done in the face of so many challenges is actually quite remarkable. And perhaps most remarkable of all is that they have done it during a time when church and much of what I imagine reminds them and gives them a visible, tangible reminder of their impact, continues to look dramatically different than it did before COVID. Before the pandemic, a vibrant, diverse congregation would gather and fill this sanctuary with an infectious energy. But as Donna has so powerfully and honestly shared, that's not often our current reality on Sunday mornings today. But in spite of that, every single week, our leaders give us more than we could ever hope. Profoundly moving sermons, powerful music, creative children's engagement and lessons, and a relentlessness in reaching us all where we are. In short, our leaders have continued to do all that they can, and then some, to make MVP the community that it is. And my hope is that we as a congregation will do the same. And one of the most concrete ways for us to do so is through our giving. Sarah and I are honored to make a pledge to MVP. Part of that motivation is because we want to support the extraordinary work of this church in the same way that we contribute to other organizations doing important work. But our gifts to MVP feel like more than that, because they are also a way of living out our commitment to a community that we are a part of, a community that has cared for us, and one that we have promised to care for. And of course, financial pledges are just one of the many ways to do that. So in 2022, that is my pledge. Yes, to give financially, but also to give more broadly, to spend time discerning the ways that I can do more to make sure that anyone, who walks through the doors at MVP knows immediately, just as we did 2.5 years ago, what a welcoming and faith-filled place this is. Thank you very much.